Now, I want to address something I saw on the timeline yesterday, a ton before these schedules got released. You can accuse the SEC of being the most fanatical and crazy, okay? You can accuse them of caring too much about football. If they played on Sunday, people wouldn't go to church. But accusing the league of being top-heavy only exposes you as being a casual. I saw this all over social media yesterday and have even seen respected college football analysts, guys that pretty much know what they're talking about, mutter this nonsense. And if you actually don't put bias in it and you call it straight, it's really not even a conversation. Now look, every schedule isn't created equally. We know that. And while some schedules are tougher than others, calling any SEC schedule easy makes absolutely no sense either. Those two arguments, for lack of a better term, are hot dog water. All right, now deconstructing the top-heavy comment is probably the easiest one to deconstruct. No other conference has had more than 3 different teams win a national title since 2000, okay? That's over 2 decades. The SEC has had 5, and 2 of the teams from the Big 12 are coming to the SEC next year. Now, the NFL draft hasn't been dominated by only 2 teams in the SEC either, but all of them, basically, outside of Vanderbilt. Take away Bama and UGA from last year's draft, and the Southeastern Conference would still have 10 more players drafted than the ACC, 12 more than the Big 12, and 15 more than the Pac-12. Now, when it comes to having an easy schedule, ask yourself this. Which team outside of the SEC would have had a better year if they were in the SEC than they did in their own conference? There may be 1 or 2 if I'm just being nice. Now, the hardest part about the SEC is the grind of having to go through the schedule. There really isn't a week off. You can insert the Vandy joke anywhere you want. And that doesn't mean if you're a fan of a team outside of the league that you don't matter or the team's not important. But the slander is unfounded and it's just flat out wrong. Now, I wish they'd go to a 9-game schedule. You've heard me talk about that. But I also live in reality. And any coach who's being honest would tell you that the SEC is the hardest league to navigate through. Texas and Oklahoma are about to find this out. Now, I love that each team in the league is going to have to play either Texas or OU in 2024. And at the end of the day, you either want the smoke or you don't. It's pretty simple. You don't have to be Pythagoras to figure that one out. So for the casuals out there questioning the depth or toughness of the SEC, grow up, Peter Pan. And to quote the great philosopher Lil Tunechi, women lie, men lie, but numbers don't lie. I'm going to bring in my co-host and former Big Ten correct, which I think the Big Ten's the second best conference out there. There's going to be a couple that may give a run for their money. And Michigan and Ohio State been just about as good as anybody out there for the past couple years, and it looks like that's not slowing down. And obviously my brother and former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. And David, we're going to jump into some of the superlatives of these schedules, but it always amazes me. And look, I'm from the state of Alabama, okay? I mean, you're from the state of Georgia. You went and played at Michigan. Blaine's obviously from the same state I am. And there are really good teams and good conferences outside of the SEC. But when I see it, and look, fans are one thing. It's short for fanatical. I get it. It's the SEC's easy to hate. But at some point, when I see respected college football analysts, guys that played at a high level, guys that typically that we have on the show sometimes, that espouse stuff that makes sense, that understands what personnel groupings are, that knows what formations are, that knows route combinations you need to run against certain coverages and what works and what doesn't. Say these crazy things, it's got to just be for clicks,
First of all,
right?
I love that we're talking about the college football schedules for next season. Not even the one coming up now.
Right?
Only in college football.
That's exactly
You
right.
talk about being top-heavy and the success that the Big Ten had last year on finally getting 2 teams out of the 4 in the college football playoff. That was awesome. That was very exciting. But they were top-heavy last year.
Yeah.
I don't think the Big Ten, you were talking about being the second-best conference, despite making up 50% of the college football playoff, top to bottom, the Big Ten wasn't the second most exciting conference to watch last
Exciting,
year.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, like the
that.
games in the Big 12 and the Pac-12 last year were, I thought, more exciting than watching a lot of the games in the Big Ten. Now, Penn State was, I think, that third best team. And look, Wisconsin's going to be better. The Big Ten's going to get it figured out top to bottom. But this SEC scheduling, I kind of want to just dive right right into some of these schedules here that we're talking about. Another thing on the difficulty of a schedule, to your point, is it depends too on what kind of team you have. Like, I would rather have Georgia's team and play Georgia's schedule this upcoming season than have UMass's team and play UMass's schedule,
Exactly
right? But some of the, I mean, like, let's just talk about Alabama for a second. So Alabama's going to go on the road to LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and then out of conference Wisconsin next year. Okay, so they're going to have Wisconsin out of conference, and then your home games are Auburn, Georgia. For only the 5th time in 20 years, they're going to play Georgia in the regular season. South Carolina, you still get Missouri at home. Like, that's a tough schedule.
You know what I find like the craziest thing is that Nick Saban came out and said, listen, I don't want to play Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU every year. So what they do in 2024, they gave him Auburn, they gave him LSU, they gave him Tennessee, they gave him Georgia, and they gave him Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, too.
It's the first time I've seen Alabama kind of get the short end of the stick. Yeah. And you brought up Georgia's schedule. Look, it's impossible to make an even schedule for everybody, right? Like, that'll just never happen because teams are different and it's kind of cyclical. But there is always a schedule that the hardest team that has, the quote-unquote hardest schedule in the conference and the team that has the quote-unquote shortest schedule. It's kind of the Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, Armageddon. Oh, no, I pushed you in back into the space shuttle when I drew the short end of the straw there. So you can make an argument within conference. But, Blaine, when you saw these schedules come out last night and then you kind of hear this stuff on social media, and look, I know it's social media and a lot of it's clickbait, and I mean, we're talking about it right now. But didn't it just blow your mind to see people that know what they're talking about say stupid stuff?
No, it's 2023. People just make stuff up or down any hill that's wrong. It's not about facts. It's not about being right. It's just about saying things that are just hot and trendy. It's hot. Why are we even talking about this? It's the SEC. Like, you can look at a lot of conferences, like, well, it's top heavy, it's this and that. When it comes to the SEC, buddy, just like most conferences, it's just different. You can say, oh, even you brought it up. Well, even Vandy's a joke. Well, hell, Vandy beat Kentucky and Florida last year. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what they walk into this year. Vandy's getting a better team. I don't care. The worst team in the SEC, and in the words of DeMarcus Cousins, it's not a walk in the park over here. It's never going to be easy when it comes to Alabama's schedule. People make fun of Georgia's schedules all the time. But the teams Georgia had to run through, I mean, Ohio State, TCU, LSU. It's never easy. There's no excuses. People just Tennessee. People just running out of things to talk about. Because I just don't know why there's so many SEC haters when it comes to college football. It blows my mind. And people need to start worrying about their own conferences because it's getting better. The Pac-12 might be the second best conference this year.
And then they're not going to be
maybe an argument for the best conference this year because what's the SEC returning? Not a lot of what? Not a lot of quarterbacks. When it comes to the trenches, give me the SEC every time. When it comes to the quarterbacks, now you can start talking about other conferences, other teams, and other leagues.
Yeah. Go ahead. And I do want to say this too. With Texas and Oklahoma, and I haven't seen this as much from Oklahoma fans, I'm starting to learn. Not that I didn't know this, but again, when it kind of comes into your realm, you understand it more. I think Oklahoma fans are a little more realistic about coming to the SEC than some Texas fans. Not all Texas fans. I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush, but I'm seeing a lot of Texas fans talk like they're Bama or something like that. No, you're not. Okay, you haven't won anything in a long time, and if you think it's going to get easier over here, and the first person that'll tell you that is Sark. So to Texas fans and to some Oklahoma fans, you better strap in. This isn't like when Missouri came over to the league, snuck into the SEC championship game, and got absolutely, full throttle Charlie's Angels 3. You're going to come over here and take some licks, all right? Not that you can't compete or not that you're not a great addition. Obviously, you're a great addition. But some of these Texas fans are talking wild, and you are setting yourself up to get absolutely slapped around in this league. I'm just telling you, don't. The players won't. Sark won't. He's been in it. So I wanted to make sure and say that, but it's not all Texas fans. And we're going to talk to some Big 12 guys next week we've got lined up. I'm interested to see that. But let's go through, Cone, a couple more of these superlatives before we get to the Booster Club.
This is Oklahoma's schedule here. Now, keep in mind, only 3 of these will be true home games because they're going to play Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and they're designated to be a home team there. So that's one thing that's interesting, kind of has some Oklahoma fans a little bit upset, but that's just how you get the short end of the stick with one of those neutral site games. I want to talk about Texas's schedule real quick because here's what Texas is going to have. Keep in mind, in 2024, first of all, Texas goes to Ann Arbor to play Michigan on the road. for the opening of this home and home. So before we even get to the SEC schedule, the Longhorns will go to the Wolverines. Then you're going to go to Arkansas. You get Vandy at home, Oklahoma at that neutral site like we talked about. On the road to Mississippi State and Auburn back-to-back. Alabama at home, go on the road to Death Valley and LSU. And then they end the season against Texas A&M at home. Texas A&M. First time since 2011, 119th meeting.
Well, and I heard people say, and look, I get it. Auburn and LSU not playing. Auburn and LSU it's a rivalry, right? I mean, I know that divisions are going to be gone, but you look at the SEC West. It's been a rivalry in the SEC West. But you have people, and our good friend Tim Brando, upset that some of these games are happening. But we get Texas and Texas A&M.
Yes.
Like, you get some of these other games, and it's not like that game's going to go away. And I know that there's some matchups that we still haven't seen in the SEC for like 20 years that we're not going to see in 2024. But eventually, we're going to get that. That's why I'm glad we're not going to divisions. But I find it just not hypocritical, but kind of shocking that people are like, oh no, Auburn's not going to play LSU and this, and the other. But we get Texas and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
We get Oklahoma and Arkansas. Mm-hmm. We get some of these other games. So it's like, Isaac Newton or one of those, old scientists, whatever, said, mass or energy cannot be created nor destroyed, whatever it is. It's the same thing in this case. You may lose some, but you're going to gain some. So I want to make sure we get that out of the way too. But no, that's, whoo.
I want to talk about Florida for a second, too, just because,
kept LSU,
because it's really interesting with some of these schools that have in-state, out-of-conference rivals. So here's Florida's home schedule for 2024. Kentucky, Ole Miss, LSU, Texas A&M, Miami, Central Florida, and then they'll get Samford. And then on the road, Tennessee, Texas, Florida State, Mississippi State, and then you'll get Georgia at your neutral site in the cocktail party. Guys, Florida 2024, I mean, that's insane.
Well, and you remember, Blaine, when they talked about, going to the 9-game conference schedule, and some teams were like, we can't get out of our 2024 non-conference game. Well, you're finding out what some of these non-conference games are in 2024. It's an absolute fist fight. So that kind of lends more credence to not going to the 9 yet.
What do you expect? Like, what do you expect? Like, you're in the SEC, dude. Like even your out-of-conference game, you play a tough couple games. Like, it's every year. It's every year with every team. It's never going to be easy, all right? And if you want to, look, I've said this a while ago. Look, this is Billy Napier's last year coaching in Florida coming up. He's done it.
So? You don't even think he makes it.
You didn't think he makes it?
No, I don't. I said it's when he got hired. I'm surprised he make it past 2 years. What is Graham from Wisconsin to come ball out in Florida?
Graham Mertz?
Yeah, no, he's not. I'm just saying, there's always going to be some coach, some team that's going to come complain about something. It's like the one team out of the 68 teams who make the college basketball NCAA tournament. The last one's going to complain about something. It's never going to be easy. You know what you can do? Trick your guys on believing you're only supposed to win 7 games.
Like Kirby did.
Like Kirby Smart, all right? If you want to complain, then complain. Hell, even Nick Saban's going to complain. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. Strap it up. Get your ass on the field, and let's go play football.
Tell them what do you say about excuses?
If I wanted to talk about excuses, I'd talk to prisoners.
That's exactly right. You don't need to put a special counsel together to figure out what's for dinner, and that's our friends over at HelloFresh. They deliver mouth-watering, chef-crafted recipes and fresh ingredients to your door so you can spend your summer doing, well, whatever you want. And if you don't know, all right, you got Taco Tuesdays, obviously every week. And HelloFresh has an amazing recipe for their one-pan Santa Fe pork tacos with Monterey Jack and cilantro lime slaw. Look, it's Thursday. All right, but you call it Taco Thursday. Doesn't matter. It's still delicious. All right, these tacos are just one of 40 recipes to choose from weekly with the options to please even the pickiest eaters. You'll always find meals everyone at the table will enjoy. They have new snacks, meals, and more to add to your weekly order, like their fun s'mores bundle. Some more what? Some more deliciousness. How about that? All right? And it's perfect for summer fun with your kids and with friends. And with so much variety, there are options for everyone and every lifestyle. So do us a favor to help support the show as well. Go to HelloFresh.com/booster16. Not just booster, it's HelloFresh.com/booster16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. That's right, 16 free meals. All right? You don't get that anywhere else. All right, so go to HelloFresh.com/booster16. Make sure to use that promo code. It's booster16. HelloFresh.com/booster16. America's #1 meal kit. Oh, hello. Guess what? You're fresh. How about that? All right, what's going on in the Booster Club?
Go to Chris E. Hashtag Ask Crandon Company. Why do I feel like the Big Ten and the SEC don't ever play each other out of conference games? Although I know Penn State played Auburn last year.
Well, we're getting
Texas, Michigan.
Michigan. I mean, you look at it seems that they don't play each other until you get to the college football playoff.
It's an ESPN Fox thing.
At the end of the day, a lot of it does come down to the TV situation. I was glad that Penn State played Auburn home and away. I thought that was a really good rivalry. I've always thought, just like you had in basketball, I think it'd be cool and it's doable in football, and I've said this for 3 years. You should have like a Big Ten SEC challenge.
Yeah.
And I know it's not as easy logistically in basketball when you play so many games, but I've always found that kind of fascinating. But typically you see the SEC, ACC, see a little bit of Big 12 SEC. Now you see Big 12 coming to the SEC. Don't see a ton of Pac-12 SEC. A lot of it, regionally and geographically. Guys typically don't want to go across the country, and that's why you're seeing, I think, now a lot of neutral site games, like that Black Eyed Peas song, "Would You Just Meet Me Halfway?" Again, I'm all for seeing more Big Ten SEC.
Yeah, I agree with Josh Pate the other day when he said he wants to see more conference cross-pollination earlier in the season, and we always love that. I'm already pumped for this Texas-Michigan home-and-home matchup, but more teams are going to be reluctant to schedule that now that you get more of these, USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten, Texas, Oklahoma joining the SEC. But I think we'll get more of it at the back end when the college football playoff is expanded.
And that's another thing with these 2024 schedules. Remember, that will be the first year of the 12-team playoff. So stronger the schedule, better chance you have of getting in, better chance of controlling your own destiny, because the term bubble team is not going to be just for college basketball now.
Let's go to JC. He says he's upset Georgia did get Texas and Alabama not traveling to Athens. Haven't been there since 2015.
Yeah, again, there's going to be a couple, but I'm looking at Georgia. Georgia does get Texas. Georgia goes to Texas in 2024. They get Auburn at home. They get Florida at home. They get Mississippi State at home. They get Tennessee at home. They go on the road to Bama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas. So Georgia does.
So I'm not seeing that, man.
Yeah, I've got it right here. SEC dropped it. This is from the Southeastern Conference. And you can see it right there. The Southeastern Conference Twitter handle that released it yesterday.
So that's interesting because the schedule that I see the Texas 2024 schedule doesn't have Georgia coming to them.
Yeah, I got it right here. It's from the SEC one. And I'm going straight off the Southeastern Conference's Twitter handle. All right, what else we got over there?
We have... Let's go to Texas Ed. What's up, Texas Ed? He says, what is a team that got hosed the most on the 2024 schedule? He is voting Georgia.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at Bama. Bama isn't a walk in the park either. I mean, it's funny that Georgia and Bama would have two of the hardest ones when they've been kind of the top dogs. But it just goes to show you it comes down to the matchups and the money. I mean, Bama's got Auburn at home. Bama's got Auburn, Georgia at home, which are obviously going to be tough games. LSU on the road, Oklahoma on the road, Tennessee on the road. They do have Vandy. They do get Missouri at home. They do get South Carolina at home. But, I mean, South Carolina, you never know with Missouri, but South Carolina I don't think is going to be a walk in the park with what Shane's doing over there. I think South Carolina, though, speaking of the Gamecocks, I guess you could say maybe got one of the most favorable schedules in 2024. You get LSU at home, Ole Miss at home, Missouri at home, A&M at home. You do go to Bama. You go to Kentucky, you go to Oklahoma, you go to Vandy. So you did get Vandy, you did get Kentucky, you did get Ole Miss, you did get Missouri. I would say South Carolina's up there from a favorability standpoint as well. But look, you can go through and kind of pot mark each team and say, oh, well, this is the easier part, this is the hardest part. None of it is easy.
Georgia will go to Texas, and they're the same as Oklahoma because they get 3 conference home games because the Florida's a neutral site.
All right, well, no one is a walk in the park in the SEC.
No.
Nobody is.
Hey, YouTube, do us a favor. Subscribe and check out our live weekday sports show. That's 6:30 to 8 a.m. Central every weekday. Come hang out.